200 inquiries. That is what a broker gets on day one of listing a good business. And most of those buyers never hear back. Today, I'm breaking down exactly how to handle your first broker call so you're the buyer they actually want to work with. Plus, I'm going to tell you the 5 mistakes that get you ghosted before you ever meet the seller. Hey, I'm Athena Simpson, founder of AcquiMatch. We are acquisition matchmakers for first-time buyers, and we help our clients close at 20 times the industry average. My team have spent hundreds of hours on broker calls and thousands of hours vetting deals, and that doesn't even count the hundreds of calls we've coached our clients through. So everything I'm about to share comes from the front lines, not theory. Here's the thing that most first-time buyers never realize. Your first broker call is a test. The broker is qualifying you just as hard as you are qualifying the business. And they're deciding if you know what you're doing, if you're a serious buyer, and if you deserve access to the seller and the deal at all. If you don't stand out, you're gonna get ignored. Simple as that. So let me tell you a quick story. On my team, learning broker calls is a rite of passage. At best, brokers are helpful and want you to have what you need to make a good decision. We love those brokers. But at worst, they'll stonewall you, they'll cut you off, they'll ghost you. One of them has even threatened my team member before. So every week, my team jumps on a call to share wins. And one of my favorite wins ever came from one of our deal team guys after his first week on broker calls. He showed up to the meeting and said, my win was that I had my first bad broker call. He got laid into by a broker, and instead of breaking, which many people understandably would, he embraced it. He expected it. He saw it as a rep. And I want you to hear that, because if you're serious about buying a business, you will have your share of rough broker calls. Decide right now that your first bad one, maybe even your second and your third, count as a win. They're reps and you're learning. Okay, so let's go through the brutal reality first because it explains everything else. Brokers get 200 inquiries on day one of a good listing, and many of them don't have CRMs, they're drowning. And if the business is solid, you're up against at least 3 to 5, maybe even more serious LOI offers, and often from experienced buyers like private equity or strategics. Remember, most brokers don't get paid until the deal closes. They've spent months, sometimes years, getting that seller to market, and they are not going to risk their commission on a buyer who hasn't prepared, doesn't know the process, can't build rapport, and can't convince them that they have what it takes to get to the closing table. They just move on to the next name on the list. So here's the framework we run with our clients. 7 steps. Step 1 is build rapport first. Brokers are people too. Get them talking about their experience, what they think the seller's motivation are, who they think the ideal buyer is, what they think the market is telling them. So do this before you drill into deal breakers. It warms them up and it shows you care about more than just the numbers, and you respect them and their expertise in the process too. Step 2 is introduce yourself strategically. Do not launch into a generic deal box spiel like every other buyer, and do not talk about preserving the seller's legacy. They've heard this a million times. You want to connect yourself to the business you're talking to them about, and ask them if they'd like to hear about your background. And then make sure you hit 3 things: why this business specifically interests you, how your experience translates to this business specifically, and your ability to finance it and close. Short and compelling. Step 3 is get clarity on the glaring stuff. Any major financial trends, owner involvement, key risks, anything that you see that could break the deal at this point. Leave the nitty-gritty for later in the process, and do not antagonize them. Try something like, I noticed X, could you tell me more about that since you're closest to this? And make darn sure that you read that sim backwards and forwards before you get on that call. Nothing upsets a broker more than being asked a question that was already answered in the documents that they provided and they worked really hard on. Okay, step 4 is find out how they priced it. You're not negotiating at this stage, you're gathering intel. Find out why they thought that price, and find out whether the valuation that was listed was the seller's number or what the broker actually expects it to sell for. Often they're 2 different numbers, and they might disclose that to you. Handled well, this question builds trust and it reveals a lot. Step 5 is gauge the competition. How many buyers are in the mix, whether there are LOIs on the table already, what's important to the seller, and what kind of buyer they'd like. You need to know where you stand and how fast you need to move so you can move fast if you have to. Step 6. Understand their process, the timeline, what they need from you before you get to meet the seller, and try to get that next step agreed before you get off the call. Never, ever leave a call without knowing what the next step is. Step 7, the magic question. Before you wrap up, ask, are there any aspects of this business or the deal that we haven't covered that we should have or that I should know about? This is where brokers spill the insights they haven't told anyone else, or you just didn't ask, so they thought maybe you already knew it. Because by this point, they like you and they see you as a real buyer. Now, let's talk about the 5 ways to blow it, 5 mistakes that you should not make. Number 1 is asking about seller financing on the first call. The broker hears that you don't have enough money. Save it for when you've built credibility and trust. Number 2 is negotiating price before you've met the seller. You're gathering information, not making an offer. Number 3 is pretending you know more than you do. Look, brokers smell BS a mile away. Ask smart questions instead. Transparency builds trust, and they do sell to first-time buyers, so you don't need to make up you have more experience or you know more than you actually do. Which is important because mistake number 4 is hiding details about yourself. If you're cagey about who you are, your experience, or your financing, they're going to assume you're not qualified and move on. Be a first-time buyer and own it. Show them you've done the work and you're willing to do the work. Work hard, move fast, and do everything you need to do to get that deal over the finish line. They like cheering for the little guy just like everybody else. Step 5, name dropping business buying influencer masterminds. Don't do it. More and more brokers instantly disqualify buyers who do this because those groups have been coaching people to spam bad offers, to ask for 100% seller financing, to say they want an absentee owner, retrade deals. There's a lot of misinformation coming out from those groups. So do not mention that you're a part of them. If you are, just let your preparation speak for itself instead. The bottom line is your first broker call is not about proving how much you know. It's about proving that you're a buyer worth their time, that you're somebody that could potentially get it over the finish line, and that you're somebody that they like and want to put in front of the seller that they've spent years sometimes getting to market. You're laying the foundation of a relationship with someone you might spend the next 6+ months working with you to close on your ideal business. So nail it and you move to the front of the line. Miss it and welcome to Ghost Town. If you want to know whether you're actually ready to be that buyer, I put the link to our 2-minute readiness assessment below. No pitch, it just tells you where you stand. And if this video was useful, please subscribe. I make these from what we actually run with clients, not theory. So I'll see you in the next one.